Hello, hello. This is a sales training for my process in prospecting. So the first thing I'm looking for is, okay, after I strategize, where's the best time to spend my marketing efforts? Is it going to be in which state, which county? And once I've figured that part out from a strategic standpoint where I can get the best return on time, great. Okay, let's say, for example, in this example, I have a map of counties of Maryland. Montgomery County, let's say that's the county I'm hitting. I always want to prospect and get to as many offices as possible same day. So I'm in a very small geographic area, as small as I can make it to have the most touch points that day, if that's my strategy, right? So I'm actually going to just pull up Google at the top and just type in title companies in Montgomery County, get that list, and then I'm going to expand that list by clicking on more businesses. And this is going to seem like a very basic method to do it, but trust me, it works. So as far as on the left, obviously anything that's a sponsored ad, ignore that because that title company is probably not actually in that geographic area. They're just trying to get visibility. So sponsored ads on Google. But anything that's not sponsored is probably a real title company. So we have a whole bunch in this area. So ideally, I would like to pick the best title companies. And by best, I mean the busiest, the most opportune, the best that are aligned with our values as far as how they treat people, etc. As many as I can, and take them off in 1 or 2 days in a row of marketing, depending on how much time I have and how far away this is to travel, right? So in this case, typically on the left-hand side, you're going to see the title companies with the highest amount of reviews most of the time first, which is perfect. So I'm always trying to target a company with a ton of reviews because it tells me, one, they're a real business. It's not a listing of a company that went out of business 8 months ago. 2, they're going to have a lot of business, hopefully, because it takes time to amass reviews, especially once you get into the hundreds. That means typically they've been around for 10 plus years in almost all cases. And obviously, if they have a high rating, even better. 4.5 to 5 is perfect. Anything below 4.5 just tells me they're inconsistent or customer service is not as important to them. So they may not be a great fit from an alignment standpoint. So obviously, if I could pick 5 places to visit, I'm going to pick the 5 what I think will be the busiest places. So by priority, if Pinnacle Title and Escrow is one of those places, Eastern Title, Jackie's Title. So I'm going to prioritize, if I have to, CLA, obviously. So the big boys in Montgomery County, as far as reviews, are CLA Title, 550, and Eastern Title. They both do a great job at that. And they both have great business. And they're licensed in many states. So that's who I want to target. So then as I'm scrolling down, I'm basically going to write this list down of these companies I want to visit. So on the side list, I'm going to write down the top 4 or 5 I've seen so far. Diamond Title, Gemini Title, yep, they all look good. Champion Title, Bethesda, yep. GPN, yep, keep going. So a lot of great examples. That review, number 3.7 is kind of concerning. And then you get down to single-digit reviews, tells me they're probably going to be a very small operation or very new. New is great, small, not as much as far as a return on your time. Doesn't mean I won't go in there and say hi because you never know what relationships can develop. But if I had to prioritize, I'm going to go with what I think will be perceived as the busier businesses. So obviously I'm going to go through each one. And then obviously once I get through this list and I'm going to the next page, I'm just going to continue to go through. And then once I have my list, whether that's 10, 20, 30 offices, 40 offices, then I'm going to prioritize, okay, with probably 5 stars. 5 stars are going to be who I think are the absolute busiest. I have to see them first. Then 4 stars, okay, the next echelon down. So maybe these people only have, 40 reviews, 50 reviews. And then 3 stars, maybe they're at 30 reviews or less. 4 stars, 20 reviews or less. Or I should say 2 stars. And then 1 star, maybe 10 reviews or less. So those are the people I'm going to get to at the very last. I'm going to deprioritize those. And then if you're not sure as you're going through this list if it's legit or not, another good step would be, of course, to give the phone number a call. So if you're not sure if the listing is actually in business because you're seeing some red flags, just give them a call. If a live human answers, you can confirm that they're there, that's their location. So you're not going to waste your time driving or walking up to an office that is probably closed or maybe they've moved. And the next thing I'm going to look for, okay, great, I have my list. Perfect. Okay, I've got my list for that county. Then what's the next step? Well, the next step is going to be starting with the people I'm going to see tomorrow or the next day or this coming week. I'm going to check out their website. So link new tab. So I have my list over here. I go to my new tab. And then on their website, as this is loading, sorry for the slow Wi-Fi, is going to be certain things I'm looking for. I want to know, where are they licensed? Are they licensed in multiple states? It's always a great sign, because if they're spending the time to be licensed in many different states, that means they have potentially more manpower to service those different closings in different states. They're paying for the additional licenses, the attorneys in those states, etc. So where are they licensed? So I'm trying to see if they have locations. I know we have to contact us, resources. So it looks like KRT, Kensington Realty, they are mostly in Maryland, probably the DMV. All right, and then let me check out contact us. So I want to know where they're located, what their coverage area is, because that will help formulate what I'm going to say when I go in there and talk to them, right? I also want to know any contact information for anyone working there. So in this case, I just get the general contact info, front desk email at the bottom, and the address. So not a ton. So let me go to the About Us section. This is where I should get some more information. You can do it. Sorry, not the best Wi-Fi connection. There we go. About Us. Perfect. So some of the About Us section on the websites will give you a little bit of info. Some are very detailed. The best are going to not only give you who the players are, what their roles are in the company, so their name, what their roles are, their emails, maybe some About Us information about them specifically. So all information you can use to have that conversation when you're going in there to talk with these decision makers, number one. Number two, obviously the additional emails to put in the CRM to tag as prospects as we're going through that pipeline to try to convert them. Three, gives us an idea of what their staff looks like. Obviously, the larger the amount of people, they got 5 processors versus 2 processors. That's a good sign. So obviously, the bigger the staff is going to be helpful. And then lastly, as I'm taking my notes on this prospect, who do I need to talk to is what I'm trying to find out. What are their emails? Trying to scrape that off the website if they're there. And then lastly, if I'm not getting that information I need, or if I just want to get more information about them in general, I'm also going to want to go to LinkedIn and pull up their company and grab more information there. So obviously I'm already following them, as you can see by the blue check mark. And then I want to see, okay, people who works there. And that way, if that information isn't on their website, I can go to LinkedIn and check that out. So I want to say, okay, great. Who are the managers? The people I want to talk to in this case is Judy. Who else works there? Processors, etc. I'm not going to connect with them right away. I may check out their page to get more information about them, but I want to know who the decision makers are, what kind of amount of employees they have. So all this helps me formulate, okay, who do I want to go see? Who has a ton of employees? And then great, when I go there, who are the decision makers I want to talk to? So that's the start of that prospecting that I do. So it starts with high level before you jump into the nuts and bolts. Where am I going to spend my time? So if I'm in a major city, Dallas, Fort Worth, that's probably where I'm going to start with, right? Because I'm going to have a high population, high number of prospects to hit before I start going out to the suburbs where the population is lower. So obviously, if I'm looking, which county do I want to go to? Sometimes I'll go to, okay, great. What makes the most sense? Or if you're not sure, let data and numbers be your guide. So I'll typically do also, population of counties in Maryland. And I already know offhand, I live in Harford County, Maryland, which is probably maybe like 250,000. Baltimore County, is around 850,000, so I want to spend more time in Baltimore County. But then I also know, Cecil County next to me is very low populated. It's probably like 150,000. So let that determine by population, where am I spending my most time? So we're looking at Montgomery County. It's the most populated county in the state. PG County, right next to it. Baltimore County, right next to that. Anne Arundel, just to the east of that. Baltimore City County, etc. Once you get down to, that's where I live, Harford County. Once you get down to sub 200,000, doesn't mean there's not business there, but you are driving farther to get to it. And the return on time isn't as great. And then obviously once you get down to like 150,000 or less, like it is very rural, mostly rural, not as much, bang for your buck. So you may not want to spend as much time there. Doesn't mean you're not going to look to see who those companies are and send them emails, call them on the phone, follow them on social, interact on social like we're going to talk about in another video, but it may not be the best use of your time to get in the car and drive to, the 6, 7, 8 title companies in that county. They're really far apart. It takes a while to get there. They have a smaller client base, so you're really trying to scrape the bottom of the barrel as far as transactions when you're trying to get the most use out of your time. So obviously this is a small state, and even in Maryland, because we have Baltimore and Washington with all the jobs, we have at least a solid 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 relatively large counties, for us anyway, to grab business from. Obviously, if you're in a bigger state, this gets a lot easier. So, from an opportunity standpoint, so that is prospecting from a high level, figuring out where strategically I'm going to go first, and then once I'm in that county, looking to title companies that have the highest, what I think will be the highest number of transactions, basing it off reviews, and then checking their website, checking their About Us section, the Contact Us section, the Location section, and also in the website, I didn't touch on not only where are they licensed, but also in the About Us, how do they get started? How long have they been in business? What are their core values? What's important to them? What awards did they recently win? Those kind of things. That way you can lead with those in the conversation when you're going into the office or calling on the phone, and you have that as further information about that prospect. So that's kind of from a high level what I do from a prospecting level from the start. And that way I get a nice list, and then once I get that list of the title companies I want, I prioritize them 5-star, 4-star, all the way down of who I want to hit first. And that's where I spend my time, really trying to hit the 5 stars, then the 4 stars, then the 3 stars. That way, if I'm going to get conversions, I'm going to get higher paying conversions first, more transactions, and kind of go from there. So that's the start of prospecting, and hopefully that gives you a nice general overview of the nuts and bolts of what I like to do from a prospecting perspective.